In these companies, most of the time, except AI, I would say, there is an industrial phase where you have to industrialize your process and that kind of stuff. And that needs a lot of different competencies, different people, and a lot of money.
Today we are here in beautiful Delphi on the occasion of the 10th edition of the Delphi Economic Forum. The Delphi Economic Forum is a global platform where leaders and innovators are meeting to discuss pressing global challenges. Today I'm thrilled to welcome Mr. Pascal Lagarde, who is the Executive Director at Bpifrance in charge of strategy, research and ESG. Pascal, before holding this role, has a long experience at the Ministry of Economy and Finance in France, and now is a key figure in driving deep tech and defense efforts in France for the French government. Pascal, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be there again, second time in Delphi, and to be with you to have a good talk with our friends from EIT Digital and colleagues, of course.
Together with Bpifrance in 2022, EIT Digital has supported DC Brain, a Paris-based deep tech company focused on AI, and together we raised a 5 million investment round for them. So I would really like today to explore how we can further build on this success for the benefits of European and French deep tech innovators and entrepreneurs. So my first question for you, Pascal, is about how do you see the role of national investment banks like Bpifrance in scaling up efforts in supporting deep tech companies in the national member state, but also at European level?
Well, our strategy when we were created in Bpifrance in 2013 was, in fact, for the innovation financing of startups. And we didn't speak at that time of deep tech. It came only in 2018, in fact, when we launched our deep tech program. But at that time, in 2013, we decided that our first idea was to create volume, to have a good base and to increase this base, because it's a very selective business where you are less and less companies going to the scale-up phase. And this volume was in fact a kind of a success. We began in 2013 with, there were at that time 170 rounds of innovative startups in France. And now it's more than between 400 and 600, which is a huge increase. At that time, we had only one unicorn, and nowadays in 2024 it was 36. The volume of money that the company raised, the VC-backed innovative company raised, was multiplied by 3 to 4 between 2013 and 2024. So at this stage, there is a kind of challenge, which is kind of a success. But your question is very good, because whenever these companies, they increase in size and market and R&D and everything, they need more and more money, in fact. And they need more and more experience, they need more and more competencies, they need more and more access to national markets. So there is a very big challenge for all these companies to build up and to create a momentum of the best, of course. And that's not linked to national markets, in fact. It's at least European. I think it's a market decision to create what is the best and what is the best build-up. So my personal feeling is that there should be, after a time, a way for national public authorities to bring these companies together and to let the market grow, but help them grow, even if they grow in another country.
We spoke about deep tech, and in my view, when we speak about deep tech and scaling deep tech across Europe, we need 4 ingredients. Of course, you need talents, skills, you need massive investments, you need patient investors, and of course you need strong R&D, which often comes with very long cycles. So can you tell us a bit more how Bpifrance is de-risking the investments in deep tech? What's your approach? And maybe also some hints on how other member states could follow your successful example in Europe.
Yes, indeed. We launched, like I said before, this deep tech plan in 2018, 2019. And the idea was same idea of volume, but we knew that it was quite different because the kind of investors that would be interested in investing in these deep tech companies would have to have a longer view and much more patient and much more specialized too. They were not digital investors. They are more like people who know semiconductors, AI, materials, and that kind of stuff. So, and first, where does that come from? I mean, most of these deep tech companies come from uh, public and private R&D departments. So the first thing we did was increasing our contacts and increasing our work with these R&D departments, and especially academic-wise, and that was very important. Secondly, we pushed a lot some very existing VCs to develop some activities there, and we put some money inside. And also, when I say money, it's not only equity, it's also R&D grants and R&D reimbursable advances, where we take the risk as innovation agency, because we are the innovation agency of France. So there is a kind of continuum where we de-risk these very long phases of R&D for the investors. So they know that now through grants and sometimes through nice innovation loans, which are supported by Commission, in fact. So we have a non-dilutive part to leverage, I would say, the equity. And that, I think the ecosystem understood that. And they decided to increase their share of deep tech investment in France, multiplied by something like 3 to 4 between 2018 and 2024, which is a lot. And the number of deals was multiplied by 2. And with these two figures, you can also see that, in fact, the amounts are bigger. And when you look at in Europe, the market of deep tech is not that small, in fact. It's the same size as the deep tech VC market. It's a 15 billion euros market, which is good. I mean, but it's very different from the US market. Deep tech US market is around 75. So it's multiplied by 5. So we need to do something. And I would say that on the European level, there was a nice program which was devised to do it with the two elements. One is kind of leverage, and the other one is needing equity. It's the EIC, and the EIC is doing that job, in fact, providing grants for R&D and equity for further phases for the companies. So I think we have some tools now, and we should share these tools and share the good practices, like you say, and especially I've tried to get more spin-offs from academics and private R&D labs. That's very important.
That's also what we try to do at EIT Digital with our SPIN program, where we take researchers and we also tell them what it means to create a company, explaining that there is something beyond research, and this is the true deep tech entrepreneurs that we need. And of course, then we connect at national level with players like you, and at European level with players like the EIC.
I would add that one of the big difference between usual digital innovation and even biotech innovation is in this usual VC model. You didn't have any industrial phase. In these companies, most of the time, except AI, I would say, there is an industrial phase where you have to industrialize your process and that kind of stuff. And that needs a lot of different competencies, different people, and a lot of money.
I would like now to touch upon a very hot topic, European tech sovereignty. From semiconductors to AI, of course, we talk a lot about this topic. However, we need also to balance between national strategic autonomy and the European perspective and market integration. So what's your take on this?
My take on this is of course that I fully understand and agree, in fact, with Draghi report on that and later report, and they were quite enlightening about this tech sovereignty and the need of developing that. I would say we have different things around that. I touched before the build-up necessity inside Europe to create champions, and I'm not sure we are already ready to do that. Institutions like yours can help a lot. I mean, to find some very nice companies and to boost these integrations of companies to create real champions. And I would say that's needed, for example, in cybersecurity, where we all know that most of the European companies, they are, I would say, a small, focused on one small subject, and the clients, they want to have the whole thing. So you have to build a huge companies to do that. But my second thought about that is we have a very fragmented market for the users. They are not used to work first with startups, even mature startups. They want to work with large companies, and these companies are mainly US. I mean, so there is some education for the large buyers in Europe to tell them, you should try to diversify your sources of technology. And I know there are some works in European Commission on that, on what they call strategic sectors, and the fact they may change, for example, the way the public procurement works, where there could be a European preference, and which is not the case right now. So there are some thoughts about that. But I think the geopolitical situation we have right now should push us to do more and quicker on that integration of, and of course about money, about VC in that case, or scale up funds. We need the new trend of unifying capital markets in Europe and the ability to raise money in any country without trouble on lots of very small details where it doesn't work.
Pascal, we are here in Delphi to discuss also about dual use and defense innovation, which is of course another hot topic at the moment for obvious reasons. So my question to you is how can we work together to bridge national efforts and European efforts with players also like EIT Digital and DIC? How can we work together to ensure greater synergies on such an important topic?
Well, thank you for this question. First, it's very close to my heart because, in fact, I began my career in the Ministry of Defense on technology developments in Ministry of Defense. So it was a long time ago, and at that time I was part of some little works on defense. So I know the story a little. I would say maybe a few words about what we did a few years ago, and the way we are working on that, and the way we are cooperating on that. I would say in 2018 we had our first fund, which was funded by the Ministry of Defense in France, to address the equity needs of what they call the industrial and technological base for defense. It's a group of companies which are from the large companies to very small companies, subcontractors, including startups, of course, which are part of defense programs. So these are companies which are not, of course, working only for defense projects. Most of them, I don't know about which are focused. In fact, they are all, like we say, dual use. But in fact, these companies, they need to be, they have different needs, longer programs, longer R&D, and so they need capital. So we devised these programs. Then we devised a new program a few years then with innovation. This is a different case where these companies are not, we're investing on these companies on the behalf of the defense ministry. They are not part of programs yet, but they are technologies which are needed for the future. We had a larger agreement, and we signed an agreement between Bpifrance and the Ministry of Defense. And we decided to support the world chain. Of course, nowadays it's very important because of what's happening and the increase in production, in fact, and the need to address new needs. So new needs, that's innovation. So you need innovation to do that. Of course, I would say it's a complete European problem. So that's the way we've seen these kind of problems. And we in fact, we have talks with different national development banks like Bpifrance to see what we can do together. We are working a lot with, of course, the new innovation agency from Greece, and that's why I'm here, in fact.
I would like to have a follow-up question. And one thing what I would like to have your opinion is about the development of defense versus civilian use of technologies. My impression is that in the past, many of the technologies started from defense and then were adopted by the civilians. Over time, we saw the opposite. Civilian technologies being more and more adopted in defense. Do you see this trend now reverting? And first of all, do you agree with this, or it's just my impression?
No, I think I fully agree with what you said. I mean, you're much younger, and I was working in the French forces procurement, in fact. What was happening at that time? There was a lot of transfer from defense technology to civilian technology. Two examples. One was about batteries. At that time, batteries didn't work, and that was terrible. But there were a lot of developments in the defense sector to have nice batteries, small, very light, and that kind of stuff. And it went to the civilian sector mainly for tools, at the beginning, and then for different other activities, including telecommunications. And then, of course, you have the example of radio communications where they were developed especially for special forces at that time, and then were transferred to GSM, in fact. So that was the time. Then there was the fall of the wall and the dividends of peace, and the sharp increase of integration of tech in the civilian market. So the new paradigm for the defense market was we need some very precise technologies, of course, but we will use the civilian technologies for the rest. Nowadays, I would say it's beginning to be a kind of mix. If you look at, for example, the AI or quantum, these are civilian technologies. But the first users, the early adopters, the armed forces, they need these technologies. So they can help at the very beginning of these technologies. Of course, they are not the volume market. So it's a new paradigm of early adopters, proof of concepts, and then being really useful for the defense community, but also going for the more civilian market.
We are coming to the end of our interview, Pascal. I would like now you to close with a advice or a message that you would like to give to a European deep tech entrepreneur that wants to scale in Europe.
Well, if a deep tech entrepreneur wants to scale to Europe, my first message would be to have a real deep look at what's happening on the rest of Europe and try to have a better integrations of close companies and try to build up with another company, different companies, maybe with close closer technologies or different stages of the value chain, and that should be very important because you need to scale, so make economy of scales for the future. And my second message would be: you have got, except if you are very on very software part of it, you've got to think about industrialization very early, very early. How can you reproduce your device? Will it be reproducible, and will it be the cost will be affordable for the final customer? And that's very important and should be part of the very early stage of your program.
Thank you so much, Pascal. I'm sure these two recommendations will be very much welcomed by the European deep tech entrepreneurial community. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your leadership, and congratulations on the amazing work you are doing at Bpifrance. Enjoy the rest of the Delphi Economic Forum. And of course, I'm looking forward to working together for the benefits of the European deep tech scene. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It was a real pleasure.